Subscribe now, if you're brave enough to keep watching. It was a quiet Thursday night when Emily Carter left her friend's house just outside of Maple Hollow, a sleepy little town surrounded by endless forest and winding back roads. The clock on her dashboard read 10:32 p.m. as her headlights cut through a blanket of fog so thick it made the world feel smaller, quieter, and unnervingly empty. She wasn't afraid of driving at night. She'd done it hundreds of times before, especially the shortcut that passed Greenwood Cemetery. It was faster, and honestly, she found the old gravestones oddly peaceful. But that night, the peace felt wrong. The fog was heavier than usual, the air colder. Even her car radio, always her late-night companion, flickered to static halfway down the road. By 10:47 p.m., Emily's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Then again. And again. Finally, she picked it up from the passenger seat and froze. The caller ID displayed her own phone number. At first, she thought it was a glitch, a bug. Maybe her cell company was updating something. But then the call came through a second time. This time she answered. Hello? Nothing, just faint static. Then breathing, slow, deep, familiar. Who is this? She whispered. The breathing grew louder, and then a faint voice, distorted, almost mechanical, repeated her name. Emily. Her heart thudded. She ended the call and threw the phone onto the seat. The fog outside seemed to thicken as she pressed harder on the gas, trying to shake off the unease. But the car's headlights barely reached 10 feet ahead now. Every shape in the mist looked like someone standing there. Half a mile later, her radio snapped back to life, but instead of music, it played the same sound. Faint static, layered with that same low breathing. Emily pulled over near the cemetery gates, her hands shaking. The fog was so dense it felt like it was alive, hurling and moving against the car. She turned off the radio, but the sound didn't stop, it was coming from outside. She grabbed her phone again to call her roommate, but the screen flashed, glitched, and displayed her own number once more. Then, as she watched in horror, the phone automatically answered itself. The same whisper came through closer this time, clearer. I'm here. The headlights flickered. Something moved in front of the car. A silhouette, faint, tall, barely human in shape, stood by the cemetery gate. Emily blinked, and it was gone. Her instincts screamed to leave. She slammed her foot on the gas and sped away, the road twisting beneath her wheels. The fog followed her like a wave, swallowing the rearview mirror in gray. By 11:05 p.m., a passing driver spotted Emily's car idling just outside Greenwood Cemetery. Engine running, headlights on. The driver's door stood open. But Emily was gone. When police arrived minutes later, they found her phone on the front seat, screen still lit. The call log showed a single outgoing call to her own number made at exactly 10:47 p.m. The strangest part? The phone had continued recording for 12 minutes after the call ended. On playback, it wasn't just static. There were footsteps, faint whispers, and at one point, what sounded like two voices overlapping, both saying her name. One calm, one panicked, both unmistakably hers. The officers assumed a kidnapping. Maybe she'd wandered into the woods, but when search teams swept the area, they found no footprints beyond the driver's side door. The dirt was undisturbed. Except for one thing, a single handprint pressed into the passenger side window from the inside. And it wasn't hers. As dawn crept over Maple Hollow, the police sealed off the area, marking it as an active investigation. But when they checked the local phone tower logs, they discovered something too. Had made even the most seasoned detective uneasy. The last call from Emily Carter's number had originated from inside Greenwood Cemetery, 400 feet beyond the gate.
Her car never moved. Her phone never left the seat. Yet somehow she or something using her number had made that call. And in the following nights, locals began to report something new. Anyone driving past the cemetery between 10:30 and 11 p.m. would see headlights through the fog, a car parked just beyond the gate, engine running, door slightly open. But when they slowed down to look, it would vanish. Every time. The town sheriff later admitted one final chilling detail. The cemetery's old caretaker quit the very next morning after finding fresh tire tracks that led into the graveyard, and never came back out. And on the dirt path between the headstones, he said he saw something glinting faintly under the moonlight, a cracked phone screen glowing softly in the mist. It was still recording. The fog that hung over Greenwood Cemetery that night didn't lift for days. The police called it coincidence, a cold front from the valley, but everyone in Maple Hollow knew better. Greenwood had always carried a strange kind of silence, the kind that pressed on your ears and made even whispers sound loud. Detective Aaron Miles was the lead investigator on Emily Carter's case. He'd seen his fair share of strange disappearances, hikers lost in the woods, drifters who never came back, but something about this one unsettled him. The evidence didn't line up with the timeline, and the phone recording didn't behave like anything he'd ever seen. He played it again from the start. Static. Then the faint hum of the car engine. Then footsteps slow, deliberate, almost in rhythm with Emily's panicked breathing. At 2 minutes, the sound shifted. You could hear her voice, "Hello? Who's there?" Followed by a faint echo that answered a second later, repeating her words perfectly, but slightly distorted, like someone mocking her from inside the fog. Aaron paused the audio and turned up the volume. In the background, under the overlapping voices, there was something else, a faint ringing, like an old rotary phone echoing far away. The timestamp on the file made no sense. The phone's internal clock said the recording started at 10:47 p.m., but the network data showed the call originated from 11:52 p.m., a full hour later, long after the phone should have been dead. And yet, it kept going. At 8 minutes in, Emily's voice whispered something Aaron could barely make out. He replayed it 5 times before he caught it. "I see lights. They're coming closer." Then came the sound of footsteps again, but now they were heavier 2 sets moving at once. Aaron shut off the recording and rubbed his temples. "Lights in the fog," he muttered. "What lights?" The forensics team had already swept the area. There were no lanterns, no electrical sources, nothing that could have produced the kind of glow she described. Still, Aaron couldn't shake the image from his mind, faint orbs moving through the cemetery, weaving between the headstones like they were searching for something. That night, against his better judgment, he went back to Greenwood himself. The gates creaked open with a metallic groan that carried through the fog. His flashlight cut narrow beams through the mist, illuminating rows of leaning gravestones and cold, wet grass. The air smelled of rain and iron. He followed the dirt path until he found the spot where Emily's phone had been recovered, just beneath an old angel statue streaked with moss. The ground was soft, disturbed. Aaron crouched. The impression of a hand was still visible in the soil. Next to it, half buried, was something he hadn't seen in the crime scene photos, a silver charm bracelet, the kind sold at souvenir shops downtown. He bagged it and turned back toward his car. But when his flashlight flickered, he froze. There was light, faint, white, moving slowly between the trees. At first, he thought it was another officer, maybe someone from the night patrol. But when he called out, the light stopped. Then, without warning, it split into 2 and both began drifting toward him. His radio hissed to life on his shoulder, and a familiar voice came through, shaky and soft. "Detective Miles?" He froze. That voice. He'd heard it before. It was Emily's. "Detective Miles. Please don't let it find me." The signal warped, and the radio went silent. The fog shifted, curling low over the ground. The light moved again, closer now. Aaron backed up until his boot hit something solid. He turned. A gravestone towered over him, cracked down the middle. The name carved into it made his blood run cold. Emily Carter, 1996-2024. He blinked. The stone was gone, just wet grass, empty fog. Nothing. Aaron stumbled back toward his car, heart hammering. He didn't stop until he was inside, locking the doors and fumbling with his radio. When he finally managed to call dispatch, the line crackled. "Greenwood Cemetery, Unit 12, he gasped. "I need backup." But the response wasn't from dispatch. It was his own voice. "Greenwood Cemetery, Unit 12. I need backup." The same tone, the same words, played back through the static as though recorded seconds earlier. Aaron stared at the radio. The fog outside was shifting again, thicker, heavier, pressing against the windshield like it wanted in. Then, through the glass, something appeared. A faint outline, a woman standing by the gate. Her hair was damp, her head tilted slightly to one side. She looked like she was waiting for someone. Emily. Her eyes were open, staring right at him. Then she smiled. Aaron hit the gas, tearing down the gravel road until the cemetery disappeared behind him. When he reached the station, he checked the clock on the dashboard. It read 10:47 p.m., the same minute Emily's last call had been made. And in the passenger seat, resting where the charm bracelet had been, was her phone. Screen cracked. Battery dead. When he pressed the power button, it flickered once, then displayed a single notification. Missed call from Emily Carter, and beneath it, a timestamp that made his stomach turn. Incoming call, 10:47 p.m. Tomorrow. The following morning, Detective Aaron Miles sat alone in his office, the blinds half closed against the cold gray light. Emily Carter's phone lay on his desk between stacks of evidence bags and half-finished reports. He hadn't slept since leaving Greenwood. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her standing in the fog, smiling through the glass. He told himself it was exhaustion, stress. Maybe the fog and the cemetery played tricks on his mind. But the phone's screen had shown that impossible timestamp, 10:47 p.m. tomorrow. And now, even with the battery dead, the device gave off a faint hum, like something still alive inside it. When the department techs ran diagnostics, the results came back impossible. The phone had registered an active signal at 10:47 p.m. again the next night after it was already in the evidence locker. The location ping came from the center of Greenwood Cemetery. Aaron decided he needed to hear the recording one last time. He plugged in his headphones, pressed play, and waited. Static. Then breathing. Emily's voice again. "Detective, are you there?" He froze. That line hadn't been in the previous version. The recording had changed. Aaron leaned closer to the screen, his pulse racing. "Emily?" he whispered, half to the empty room. Her voice responded, faint but clear. "He hears us now." Before he could stop the playback, another sound bled through a slow, dragging scrape like stone grinding against stone. Then a new voice entered the mix, lower, calm, imitating him. Aaron Miles. "Stay on the line." He tore off the headphones and staggered back. His office phone immediately rang. Unknown number. Against every instinct, he picked it up. "Detective Miles," he said. Silence. Then faint static. "Don't go back," the voice whispered. Emily's voice. The line cut out. The office light flickered once and went dead. He stood in darkness, breathing hard. Then his desk phone rang again. Same number. He didn't answer this time, but the display began typing on its own, each letter appearing slowly across the caller ID. IDENOW. He slammed the receiver down and sprinted from the room.
By the time backup arrived, the hallway cameras showed something impossible. Two versions of Aaron were on screen. One running out of his office, the other standing motionless by his desk watching him leave. When he finally checked the footage himself, the second figure turned toward the camera. Its face looked like his, but the eyes were pale, reflective, like glass catching a flashlight. He left the station that night, keys shaking in his hands, and drove straight to Greenwood Cemetery. He didn't know why, only that the signal always led back there. The air was colder than before, the fog thicker, swirling like it had been waiting for him. He parked near the same gate where Emily's car had been found. The engine idled as he stared through the windshield. For a moment, everything was still. Then the radio turned on by itself, tuned to an empty frequency. Static. Breathing. Then both voices, Emily's and his own, spoke in unison. You shouldn't have answered. The headlights flickered. The fog outside the car pulsed, almost alive. Figures began to appear between the tombstones, faint outlines, all facing him. Dozens of them. Motionless, their eyes reflecting the same pale light. Aaron reached for his radio, but it was already hissing. Unit 12, respond. The voice wasn't dispatch. It was his own voice again, distorted and distant. He looked down. Emily's phone, lying on the passenger seat, lit up on its own. Incoming call 10:47 p.m. Caller AA, Ron Miles. He stared at it, unable to breathe. The call answered itself. From the speaker came a quiet whisper. You're here now. The fog pressed against the windows until the world outside disappeared entirely. The last sound recorded by the patrol dashcam was the faint chime of a ringing phone, echoing somewhere deep inside the cemetery. When officers arrived the next morning, Aaron's car was found idling by the gate. Driver's door open, radio still transmitting static. His badge lay on the seat beside a cracked phone screen that displayed one final notification before it faded. Missed call from inside Greenwood Cemetery. Since then, anyone who drives past the cemetery at 10:47 p.m. reports the same thing. A ringing phone in the distance and headlights glimmering faintly through the fog. But when they slow down to look, the lights vanish. And sometimes, if you stop long enough, your phone will start to ring too, displaying your own number on the screen. If this story haunted you, the next one will keep you awake. Hit subscribe if you dare.